Have you ever witnessed someone in their 80s who seems to defy the very concept of aging? They hike up trails with confidence, carry their own groceries, or rise from a chair without a hint of struggle, while others the same age rely on walkers or assistants for even the simplest tasks. As a physician who has spent decades studying geriatric health and the science of muscle aging, I've often observed this striking contrast. It may seem like pure luck or superior genetics, but the truth is far more empowering. The difference lies in specific, science-backed habits that are entirely within your control. Here's the fascinating part. Muscle loss is not inevitable with age. While it's true that individuals over 50 can lose 1–2% of muscle mass annually, groundbreaking research now confirms that this decline isn't permanent, nor is it irreversible. In fact, with the right practices, seniors can rebuild strength, improve muscle function, and maintain independence well into their 70s, 80s, and beyond. What separates those who age gracefully from those who experience early decline isn't fate. It's knowledge, strategy, and consistency. Imagine waking up with more energy, stronger legs, and the confidence to move freely, without fear of falling or fatigue. These results aren't wishful thinking. They're the outcome of a handful of habits that anyone can begin, regardless of age or fitness history. But here's the catch. One of the most important habits, perhaps the most essential, is something that most seniors are getting wrong every single day. And that mistake may be silently weakening their muscles and speeding up decline. Stay with me, because by the end of this guide, you'll not only understand what that habit is, you'll know exactly what to do about it. 1. Engage in hormetic stressors. Turn stress into strength. In the world of aging and muscle preservation, one of the most overlooked yet scientifically powerful strategies is the use of hormetic stressors. Though the term may sound complex, the principle is simple. Short, controlled doses of stress, whether physical, thermal, or metabolic, can trigger profound rejuvenation in the body, particularly for muscle strength and cellular resilience. Think of hormesis as the biological equivalent of what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Just as lifting weights creates micro-tears that rebuild into stronger muscle fibers, hormetic stressors activate genetic and molecular pathways that protect and repair muscle tissue. One of the most accessible forms of hormetic stress is temperature variation. Short exposure to cold, such as finishing a warm shower with 30–60 seconds of cold water, can stimulate brown fat activity and boost adiponectin, a hormone shown to protect muscles from breakdown. On the flip side, heat exposure, through saunas or hot baths, activates heat shock proteins, which play a vital role in repairing damaged muscle cells and preventing protein degradation. In fact, a long-term Finnish study found that individuals who used saunas 4–7 times per week had up to 40% less muscle loss over a decade compared to non-users. In my clinical practice, I've seen firsthand how transformative these techniques can be. One patient, Harold, age 78, adopted a simple routine, ending his shower with 45 seconds of cold water and using a sauna 3 times weekly. Within just 2 months, his morning leg stiffness had significantly reduced, and his energy levels improved. He wasn't lifting heavy weights or making drastic lifestyle changes. He simply embraced hormesis. Other potent hormetic stressors include intermittent fasting, such as limiting eating to an 8-hour window, breath-holding exercises, or overcoming isometric movements like pushing against a wall for 5–10 seconds. These practices activate key longevity genes, FOXO and sirtuins, which are strongly associated with muscle preservation, improved mitochondrial function, and delayed cellular aging. The key is to start small. Try ending your shower with just 30 seconds of cold, or talk to your doctor about whether sauna use is safe for you. These micro-stressors may feel uncomfortable at first, but your muscles, mitochondria, and long-term independence will thank you. 2. Protein timing, the overlooked factor. When it comes to maintaining muscle strength in later years, most older adults have heard the advice: eat more protein. But what's rarely discussed, and critically important, is that when and how you consume that protein may matter just as much as how much you eat. This is especially true because of a biological phenomenon called anabolic resistance, a condition that sets in with age and reduces the body's ability to convert dietary protein into muscle. In younger people, the process is seamless. Protein from meals quickly stimulates muscle protein synthesis. But for those over 60, the body becomes less responsive. The same meal that would have sparked muscle building in your 30s may barely register in your 70s unless it's timed correctly and repeated throughout the day. Unfortunately, most seniors tend to load their protein intake at dinner, often skipping a protein-rich breakfast entirely and skimping at lunch. This pattern results in missed opportunities for maintaining and building muscle. Research shows that spreading protein intake evenly, around 25-30 grams per meal, helps overcome anabolic resistance and stimulates muscle repair and growth more effectively. And this doesn't mean eating huge meals, it means being strategic. I recall one of my longtime patients, Shirley, now 84, who came to me frustrated. She was eating healthy, having regular meals, but still losing strength. A quick review of her daily intake showed what I see all too often: cereal at breakfast, a small salad at lunch, and a protein-heavy dinner. After adjusting her meal plan to include protein-rich foods like eggs and Greek yogurt at breakfast, lentils at lunch, and lean fish at dinner, Shirley began to notice significant changes. Within just 10 weeks, without any added exercise, she reported improved energy, and her grip strength, which we monitored, showed measurable gains. This simple shift, distributing protein throughout the day, can make a profound difference. If you're looking to preserve or rebuild strength as you age, don't just ask how much protein you're eating. Ask yourself when you're eating it. 3. Correcting vitamin D. Deficiency, the silent muscle killer. When most people think of vitamin D, they associate it with bone health, and rightly so. But what often goes unnoticed is vitamin D's critical role in muscle function. Far beyond just helping bones absorb calcium, vitamin D directly activates receptors on muscle cells that regulate protein synthesis, repair, and overall strength. This is why I refer to it in my practice as the muscle vitamin. Unfortunately, more than 80% of seniors are deficient in vitamin D, and this widespread shortfall is silently contributing to weakened legs, impaired balance, and a higher risk of falls. If you've noticed slower reflexes, fatigue during walking, or difficulty standing up from a chair, there's a real chance that low vitamin D could be part of the problem. What's alarming is that these symptoms are often dismissed as normal aging, when in fact, they may be preventable or reversible. From a clinical standpoint, I can tell you the commonly recommended 600 IU day of vitamin D is often insufficient for those over 65. Based on updated research and years of patient outcomes, I typically advise older adults to target between 2,000 and 4,000 IU day, depending on individual blood levels. For accurate dosing, I strongly recommend getting your 25 OHD levels tested and aiming for an optimal range above 40 Dng ml. But there's another important piece: vitamin K2. Vitamin D increases calcium absorption, but without enough K2, that calcium can end up in the wrong places, like arteries instead of bones and muscles. That's why I advise patients to either consume fermented foods rich in K2, like natto, sauerkraut, or certain cheeses, or take a D3 plus K2 supplement. The pairing ensures calcium is directed where it's needed most, helping support both strong bones and resilient muscles. Vitamin D deficiency doesn't announce itself loudly. It creeps in subtly, showing up as weakness, instability, or even frequent trips and stumbles. But the good news is that correcting it is simple, affordable, and incredibly effective. If you're serious about preserving strength and independence as you age, checking and optimizing your vitamin D is one of the most powerful steps you can take. 4. Inflammation control, the missing link in most senior diets. When we think about inflammation, we often associate it with swollen joints, heart disease, or autoimmune conditions. However, a lesser-known but equally important form, low-grade chronic inflammation, or what scientists now call inflammaging, is a silent saboteur of muscle health in older adults. This persistent internal fire slowly eats away at muscle mass by blocking the very signals that protein and exercise rely on to stimulate muscle growth. In short, you could be eating well and moving regularly, but if chronic inflammation is left unaddressed, your body may still struggle to maintain strength. Superagers, those remarkable individuals in their 70s, 80s, or beyond who maintain youthful vigor, understand that inflammation control is essential. One of the most effective strategies is prioritizing quality sleep. Research shows that getting just 7-8 hours of uninterrupted sleep in a fully darkened room helps keep inflammatory cytokines in check. In fact, sleep deprivation has been shown to raise these inflammation markers by as much as 40%, directly accelerating muscle breakdown. Another critical but often overlooked area is gut health. The balance of bacteria in your gut affects inflammation throughout the body. Superagers aim for at least 30 different plant foods each week to provide the diverse fibers needed to support beneficial microbes. They also include fermented foods like yogurt, kefir, kimchi, or sauerkraut to deliver natural probiotics that help reduce systemic inflammation. Exercise is also vital, but the type and intensity matter. While regular movement supports muscle preservation, too much high-intensity training in older adults can ironically increase inflammation. Superagers tend to focus on moderate daily movement, like walking, light strength training, or dancing, paired with short bursts of intensity just 1-2 times a week to keep inflammation in check while still stimulating muscle growth. Finally, no anti-inflammatory routine is complete without targeted nutrients, omega-3 fatty acids, at doses of 2-3 grams daily, along with curcumin from turmeric, green tea, and berries, have all been shown to significantly lower inflammation markers. A compelling study found that seniors with low baseline inflammation lost muscle mass 3 times more slowly than their more inflamed peers, even when both groups exercised the same amount. Inflammation may be invisible, but its impact on your strength and independence is profound. Taming it is one of the most powerful steps you can take to age actively and gracefully. 5. Targeted vitamins and micronutrients. Small things, big impact. When we talk about muscle strength, the spotlight often shines on macronutrients like protein or carbs. But what often flies under the radar, and yet plays a critical role in preserving muscle and mobility, are micronutrients. These small nutrients have an outsized impact, especially for seniors. In my decades of practice, I've found that many older adults struggling with fatigue, weakness, or poor balance aren't lacking in calories. They're missing essential micronutrients. Let's start with magnesium, one of the most common deficiencies among people over 60. Magnesium is crucial for muscle contraction, nerve signaling, and the efficient use of protein. Without enough of it, your muscles may feel crampy, sluggish, or simply weak, no matter how well you eat or exercise. Studies have shown that seniors with adequate magnesium levels exhibit better grip strength, walking speed, and overall physical performance compared to those who are deficient. Then there's creatine, often misunderstood as a supplement for young athletes or bodybuilders. But the science is clear. 3-5 grams per day of creatine monohydrate is both safe and effective for older adults. It boosts ATP production, your muscle's energy currency, helps preserve lean muscle, and even supports brain function, including memory and mental clarity. Seniors who supplement with creatine tend to see better strength gains from resistance training than those who don't, and many even report improved balance and reduced fatigue. Another critical but frequently overlooked nutrient is vitamin B12, especially in its methylated form, methylcobalamin. B12 is essential for proper nerve function and muscle coordination. Yet as we age, our stomach produces less acid, and medications like metformin and acid blockers make it worse, leading to poor absorption of this vital vitamin. B12 deficiency can result in numbness, balance issues, and even nerve-related muscle weakness. If you've been feeling off balance or more forgetful, this could be a missing piece of the puzzle. Pro tip: instead of grabbing a generic multivitamin off the shelf, ask your doctor about a micronutrient blood test. This allows you to target the specific deficiencies in your body and avoid wasting money or overdosing on unnecessary supplements. When it comes to aging strong, sometimes the smallest nutrients make the biggest difference. 6. Preserve neuromuscular junctions, where muscle and brain connect. When we think about aging and muscle loss, most of us imagine the fibers in our arms or legs simply getting smaller or weaker. But what if I told you the real problem often begins much earlier, not in the muscle itself, but in the communication line between your brain and your body? That's where the neuromuscular junction, NMJ, comes in, the vital interface where nerve signals activate muscle movement. And as we age, this junction begins to deteriorate, quietly weakening our strength, balance, and coordination. The scary part? Once these junctions degrade, muscles can no longer receive signals efficiently from the brain, even if they're well fed and exercised. That's why some seniors feel like their legs are slow to respond, or why balance feels off despite good nutrition. But there's good news. You can protect and even restore these neural connections. The key lies in activities that demand precision and coordination, like Tai Chi, dancing, table tennis, yoga, or even carefully practiced strength exercises. These movements force the brain to stay actively engaged with the muscles, reinforcing neural pathways and preserving function. One landmark study found that older adults who practiced coordination-heavy movement retained 31% more neuromuscular junctions than those who only walked or performed basic exercise. That's a massive difference when you consider how vital NMJs are to staying independent. In addition to movement, certain supplements can enhance this brain-to-muscle communication. Nutrients like acetyl L-carnitine and alpha-lipoic acid have shown neuroprotective effects, while specialized forms of vitamin B1, such as benfotiamine, support the production of acetylcholine, a critical neurotransmitter for muscle activation. Another powerful but simple strategy is vagus nerve stimulation through deep breathing techniques. One of the best is box breathing. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4, exhale for 4, and hold again for 4. Just 5 minutes of this daily can enhance nerve signaling by up to 15%. A small habit with a big impact. In short, if you're concerned about mobility, don't just focus on your muscles. Focus on your muscle-mind connection. Protect the circuit, and the system stays strong. 7. Progressive resistance training. The ultimate anti-aging tool. If there is one practice I urge every older adult to adopt, no matter their age, history, or fitness background, it's progressive resistance training. For decades, outdated advice made seniors fearful of lifting weights, falsely warning that it could cause injury or strain. But the science is now irrefutable. What's truly dangerous is not engaging in resistance training. The risk lies in muscle atrophy, frailty, falls, and the steady decline of independence. The truth: muscle loss due to aging is not inevitable, it's optional. In fact, compelling research out of the University of Alabama demonstrated that adults in their 70s who had never trained before were able to gain 3.3 pounds of lean muscle and increase their strength by 35% in just 12 weeks, without any fancy equipment or prior experience. This is possible because muscle remains metabolically active and responsive even in late age. The trick is to train it intelligently. Superagers, those rare individuals who maintain youthful muscle strength into their 80s and beyond, don't train for hours. They train smarter, not longer. Their secret? First, they use high-intensity, short-duration training just twice a week. This means lifting weights or using resistance bands to the point of near muscle failure, where the last rep feels very challenging, but is still done with proper form. Second, they emphasize compound movements like squats, rows, and presses. Exercises that work several muscle groups at once and stimulate a stronger hormonal and neurological response than isolated movements. Third, they embrace progressive overload, the principle of gradually increasing the challenge, whether that's lifting slightly more weight, doing more reps, or reducing rest time. This continual challenge forces muscles to adapt and grow. Finally, they focus on the eccentric phase of movement, the controlled lowering portion, which research shows builds more strength and causes less strain on aging joints. For example, slowly lowering yourself into a chair or taking 3-4 seconds to lower a dumbbell. Don't underestimate the power of this habit. 2 30-minute sessions a week can reverse years of decline. No pills, no surgery, just science-based movement. It's never too late to start, and the benefits extend beyond muscles. Improved blood sugar, balance, bone density, even cognitive function. Strength truly is the fountain of youth. My closing message: as a doctor who cares. After more than 4 decades dedicated to the science and care of human health, I want to leave you with a message that goes beyond prescriptions and diagnoses. You have far more control over the aging process than you've been led to believe. Frailty, weakness, and loss of independence are not unavoidable parts of getting older. They are outcomes often shaped by daily choices. And the good news is, those choices are still yours to make. Throughout this journey, we've explored 7 evidence-based habits that distinguish seniors who remain strong and self-reliant well into their 80s and beyond. These aren't miracles, and they don't require expensive equipment or superhuman willpower. They are simple, science-supported practices. Exposing your body to small, beneficial stressors, like cold or heat, timing your protein to work with your body's needs, optimizing vitamin D, calming chronic inflammation, supplementing with key micronutrients, protecting the brain-muscle connection, and most powerfully, engaging in progressive resistance training. Muscle loss is not a symptom of aging. It's often a symptom of inaction. But every action you take, no matter how small, has the potential to turn that tide. Maybe you start by adding Greek yogurt to your breakfast. Maybe tomorrow you take a short walk with a few squats added in. Maybe next week you lift a weight you haven't lifted in years. The key is not to do everything at once. It's to begin. To choose movement over stillness. Strength over surrender. I encourage you to start with just one habit from this guide. Make it a part of your life. Once it feels natural, introduce the next. Let each new step build on the last, and in doing so, let your strength return day by day. Now it's your turn. Which of these 7 habits surprised you the most? Are you already practicing any of them? Your voice matters. Please share your experience in the comments, because your story might just be the spark someone else needs to take back their strength.